We bought 135 acres
with a cabin. Stay tuned, and we'll actually give you the inside scoop. We'll give you the tea on some things that we disagreed about with our business partner and how we ultimately resolved it.
Hi, I'm Sarah Karakayan.
and I'm Annette Grant. And together we are
Thanks for visiting.
We've been hosting for well over a decade, welcomed tens of thousands of guests, and earned thousands of 5-star reviews.
Our portfolio continues to bring in over $1.5 million year over year, and supported not only by the industry's leading brands, but also some of the biggest media outlets.
And we're here to help you with your furnished rental.
We want to record this video because we hear, us included, but we hear all the time, people want to know, like, what do partnerships look like? And what are people buying these days? And what are the questions that people have when they're buying a property, especially when they're buying it with people other than like their life partner? And so we wanted to give you the real deal behind the scenes of like how a deal like this went down for us. You can do it in so many ways. This is what's been going on in our world. When I first moved to Columbus, Ohio with my husband, we didn't know a soul, like not one soul. And we started doing what we came here to do, and that was opening up a short-term rental. And because we were opening up a short-term rental, I think we had it listed, but it was in Columbus, Ohio, and at the time there were some major regulations that were being discussed about in our local government here. And Columbus, Ohio, believe it or not, has a huge presence on Airbnb. So Airbnb actually wrote all of its hosts that were hosting here in Columbus and told us to show up to, there were 3 city council meetings and have our voices heard. And of course, I just moved here to specifically do Airbnb. You better believe I was gonna show up. When I did, I sat next to this lady and started a conversation with her. And I also met another couple. They, at the time, just had their 3rd baby, but they owned 9 properties in downtown Columbus, Ohio. They were all new builds, and I was just really impressed with the amount of work they had done up until that point, because I was kind of just getting started really here in Columbus. And so I met them too, and both Annette and then it's Mike and Ingrid just really stuck out to me when that city council meeting. And it's just funny how come full circle later, spoiler alert, these are now my business partners in this big land deal that we just are doing together.
I want to say a little something about what you said. You did not sit next to me. I sat down next to you.
Okay.
Because I might have been stalking Sarah and her husband on Instagram ahead of time. And I was like, I want to know her. And she walked in, I saw where she sat, and I sat right next to her. So if there's someone that you've been following along with and you think that you could be partners with them or you're interested in their story, DM them, send them an email, get their phone number. I just want to share that before all of this. That's really how Sarah and I met, was sitting down next to her at that meeting, getting her cell phone number, and meeting for coffee, meeting for lunch. And that's how this deal originally got started. Was Sarah and Nick started going out with the Navarros and just sharing hosting stories and, best practices, what was going on in their business. And then I got looped in later once the land deal came into play.
Well, just to like piggyback off of your strategic sitting next to me, and yes, it parlays or it foreshadows this real estate opportunity together. We're glossing over the fact that we built Thanks for Visiting together off of, that's a whole other really cool spin-off from that one chance meeting, right? So just the power of being specific with who you meet and who you have a conversation with. And here's the thing, there are plenty of people that I might make an effort to go and meet and nothing comes of it right away. In fact, I don't think Annette and I connected after that first meeting like another 6 months later. But just know that if there's intentionality behind something that you go to do, and I'm not saying you want something from that person, but there definitely was just like a chemistry in terms of like Annette's, how much she was a go-getter and she had a lot of vision, and we just kept making it a priority to meet up and see if there was something there that we could have business-wise. And of course, we have Thanks for Visiting. That is what, 5-6 years old now, and then now we have this land deal that we're going to dig into.
You always want to begin any deal, real estate, you want to begin with the end in mind. And that's not doom and gloom, that's just setting things up for success. And so we want to share with you us setting up our relationship, Sarah, myself, her husband, and the Navarros, when we bought this land. This was it fluctuated in price. So it was, at the beginning, it was over $2 million. We got rid of some of the land. It came down to closer to $1.3 million. So this isn't a small investment. You need to have the operating agreement and what's going to happen here way ahead of time. And people might call them uncomfortable conversations. I just call them conversations.
Important.
And communicating. But we really started with what does the deal look like, but what does our relationship look like in the deal?
Here's what's helpful. In most real estate transactions, the lender is going to ask for an operating agreement regardless.
Required,
They
right?
require it, all right? But then you have to take the opportunity and actually dig into the operating agreement and make it tailor fit for your partnership. That is how you have a partnership that's going to last throughout the entire engagement and hopefully have less friction along the way if you work out all the potentially uncomfortable situations beforehand. Because if you can't even make it past the operating agreement set up, then you're probably not good partners. I'll give you actually one insider conversation that we had. We were on the phone with our attorney. We were all on this phone call. I remember where I was picking up my dogs from the groomers, and we were asking each other all these questions. And actually, Ingrid asked this question, one of our partners. She's one half the Navarros, and she's like, "Well, what happens if one of us gets a divorce?" So Ingrid and Mike are married, and Nick and I are married, and it was important.
I'm not married. Any single gentleman, get a hold of Sarah.
Oh, I will do that for you. I will let them.
Oh, put it
But
out
that's
there.
a great question. And actually, instead of being like, "Ooh, I wonder what's going on in their marriage," no, I was like, I really respected Ingrid thinking like that because it really shows that she was thinking about Annette. She's thinking about us, and that she's thinking about herself, but she doesn't know what's going on behind the closed doors with Nick and me. And that's a very real question, because when a married couple in a partnership were to split, that could make things really interesting. So uncomfortable questions like that were asked with our attorney there. And actually our attorney even made a comment this conversation with all of you guys was one of the most mature conversations I've been a part of setting up an operating agreement. So when you're going out and you're doing a deal, I really don't there's some advice out there that partnering with your family or partnering with friends might not be a great idea. And I really disagree. I really think it's how you approach it and the questions you ask before you make the purchase. That's what determines whether or not
Yeah, they didn't do the work ahead of time. I've had partnerships that have ended, but they've been okay because we had the end in mind ahead of time. So I think that's where just being realistic about that in the beginning, because a lot of times you want to get a deal done so fast, you kind of gloss over some things that are very, very important, but you're pushing ahead. So you want to slow down to definitely speed up in the end. We're going to dig into our roles that we all had to put together our descriptions for our operating agreement. And these roles are interesting because this piece of land, the 133 acres, is about door to door from all of our houses. We live pretty close, a 50-minute drive. So it isn't right in our neighborhood where it's where you're just going to pop over. So it was a 7-figure investment. B, it was an investment that is far away from our homes. And then 3, it's our first time all working together and defining what those actual roles are. So that was a great exercise ahead of time of us defining, not only financially what we were bringing to the table, but we are going to be owner operators. We are going to be operating the short-term rental. We are going to be the builders on this land. So we want to let you know, as far as the partnership goes, what our roles are.
All right, so determining our roles for this project. It is 135 rolling acres. There is one small existing cabin that the previous owner lived in.
Tiny cabin.
700 square feet. And then behind it are 2 garages. This is where the previous owner would tinker on his plow and all of his tools, and that's it. And he did take meticulously, good care of the rest of his property. So that was really attractive to us, that there were already utilities there, 1 septic tank, and then these 2 garages and this 1 cabin.
And a roadway
that went
there.
to the cabin. So, but
there.
with 135 acres, for us to really maximize the business on this property, we are going to be building up from the ground other short-term rentals. So, knowing that this is a buy and hold opportunity for all of us, and that there is only 1 cabin and it's quite dated, and then 2 garages that were, quite frankly, smell like oil and gasoline, that there's a lot of work to be done on this property. So what we did, here's what happened. Mike called my husband, Nick, I think in 2022, and was like, I really want to get in on what's going on, an hour south of Columbus, Ohio. And I want to, because we all own metro properties, right? Downtown Columbus. And we wanted to get into the more rural, more classically vacation rental properties. It's a highly trafficked area for people who live in our, triangle in Ohio, from Cincinnati to Dayton to Columbus, even Cleveland.
You can look it up. It's Hocking Hills.
Hocking Hills, yes. So that 2022, mind you, right now, this is 2024 that we're sharing the story. It took a couple of other properties that weren't good fit. And I remember I called Annette. We were already, doing things Thanks Visiting together. We had already bought a property together, and I wanted to bring her in on working together operationally in the short-term rental space too, because we have our own endeavors, and I wanted to bring us together. So I told her about the opportunity, and she's like, well, keep me posted. Let me understand what you guys are looking at and what you're considering. So once this property that I just described to you came to our attention, I brought Annette in, and she was highly interested, and we'll get to some details of where we disagreed about the opportunity, but we'll save that for later. And I shared with Annette, I was like, here's the cool thing about all of us together. Annette, for Thanks for Visiting and for other businesses that she's been involved in, has been really great about being in the details of the financials. So working with our bookkeeper, our CPA, people who can help us with financial modeling, right? The spreadsheets. Again, we preach knowing your numbers, and it's not always just Annette herself by herself on the computer at a spreadsheet. She knows how to bring in other people to help her highlight things that will help us make better business decisions for the property. So I said, Annette, I know that you could really help us with the financial side of this big project. Like right now there's one cabin, but soon there's going to be many. When it comes to what I'm good at, like I love doing, is running teams. I like hiring team members. I like putting them where they belong. I like training them. I love the operations of setting up all the systems with the technology, where the reservation's gonna come in at, what PMS are we gonna use, how are we gonna make our beds, where are the towels gonna be positioned, what are the amenities, how are we gonna talk to our guests? Like that's I love doing that. My husband runs an architecture firm. So he designs both residential and commercial properties, and they're a licensed architecture firm. So he was gonna be in charge of the designs, the making sure the renovations are structurally sound. When we have new properties, he's gonna be in charge of where they go on the plot of land and what's gonna be best for the entire site of the land. And you wanna share what's so exciting about Mike and Ingrid?
Mike is our builder. Mike is the one that, quite frankly, is teaching me the most right now. He has done almost all of the projects that he does are from the ground up. Yeah. So you want to talk about septic, you want to talk about electrical, plumbing. He is the mastermind of that. That role, whether it's Nick or Sarah and Mike, like that part is something that we're not having to pay for a general contractor. He is our general contractor on the project. So he is bringing that expertise to rehabbing the cabin, and then plus all of the new builds that we are going to create. And then his wife, Ingrid, is design focused, but also operations focused with Sarah. And again, all of us have hosted thousands and thousands of guests. So when it comes to just hospitality and understanding the short-term rental world, we all have that expertise too. So that is, individually we have our roles, but cumulatively we have that secret sauce of all of us hosting thousands and thousands of guests.
Really, the only reason why Annette's on here is because she's independently wealthy, and that's how we've been able to financially sustain this whole project. And actually, she is still looking for the right husband because her prenup is just too extreme, and they've all said no to it. No, I'm just joking. How are we affording this, Annette?
Right.
What do the numbers look like?
Let's dig in. I know you guys are scratching your heads because the math ain't mathing. You're like, there's 135 acres. There's a teeny tiny cabin. I don't care if you're charging $1,000 a night. The math is not mathing there. Let's dig in. Number one, that teeny tiny cabin, 700 square feet, that is not the end all be all of this development. That is just the start, okay? So it has always been our intentions. We knew going in that we were not going to cash flow right away. And this goes back to the importance of knowing your numbers. Make sure to watch all of our other videos on knowing your numbers. But we knew ahead of time this was not going to cash flow. It was not going to cash flow for a while. And Sarah said it before, this is a buy and hold for us. We can share with you that immediately out of the gate when we did go to purchase, we already had equity because it appraised for, I think, $400,000 more than what we bought it for. So that was a huge win. Yes, obviously we're not seeing any of that cash now, but that just makes you feel really good about the investment that we made. But what we've done is we collectively sat down, all of us together, and we did that math. How much is it for our mortgage each month? All of our fixed costs. I have a spreadsheet. I can show you my computer. I know right now, till the end of the year, exactly what we need to have in our account to make sure that every bill is paid. And so that was us coming together as partners and talking about, yes, this is cash that needs to be deposited in our business banking account ahead of time. And so those were a collective conversation that we had on what the finances would be. And then independently, I've had conversations with myself about where I need to put the money and where it's coming from. Sarah and her husband, and then Mike and Ingrid. And we can share that the money, like for the deposit for the land, that was a wire transfer that we did months and months ago. And then another cash infusion. So I also want everybody to understand, like, you don't need to have, as long as you're projecting the cash that's needed and you're ready to deposit it when needed, it's not like we all started out for the whole entire year putting all of the cash there. So as long as you understand what's coming month after month, you can put that in as needed. Okay, so right now, this is all cash, either cash reserves that we have, maybe we're pulling out of different investments, cashing those in. Some of the partners might have line of credits on other property, but everyone individually has gotten created about how they have brought cash. This is true the cash that we're using right now as our holding cost. All right, so we can share with you though, we are doing the work of figuring out we need to have more money, all right, because we are having to fulfill this loan every month, and that's where we are doing some financial modeling right now on what would it look like for private lending, what would it look like if we brought other partners in. So this is all of the deep work, the math that we're doing, and the planning on how many units we're gonna put on the land in the future. And I wanna offer this to everybody. Yes, it can feel stressful at times, a little overwhelming, a little uncertain, but also you don't wanna get analysis paralysis. You just wanna start putting numbers in, thinking about how many reservations you could have, what could your ADR be? So bringing up a multitude of scenarios so you can start to see what that revenue could be and should be, and we want it to be for our project.
It's not all puppy dogs and rainbows and butterflies between all of us partners, right? Like, there have been disagreements from day one. But it's really how you approach the disagreement and how you have conversations with these humans that you want to be in a long, buy and hold strategy with that really can forecast how the rest of the relationship is going to go. So I was really excited to get Annette involved. I was like, I really want her to be involved in this project. I want to work with Annette more. I want to do this with her. But when
duh, why wouldn't you?
But when I told her about, okay, it was supposed to be more land at a higher price per acre, and I could tell her getting more and more uncomfortable with how much the land is and like how much we're gonna have to develop it to have that make sense and how long that was gonna take.
Right, well it was supposed to be 175 acres. And going back to what I previously said, at first I said yes. I was excited. I mean, most people, you get invited, I'm like, yes, I wanna do this. And then I started doing that math of the upfront deposit. And the upfront deposit I was still comfortable with, but it was the holding cost. And I did it, okay, what is it at 6 months? What is it at 12 months? What is it at 24 months? And there was a point where I was comfortable, and then I was like, wait, I don't know where this money is going to be coming from, because the holding costs were a
lot higher.
Yeah, that 50 acres extra just really put me in an uncomfortable place. And I can share, I know myself, I can get my Z's, okay? I sleep like a baby. And when my sleep starts getting disrupted, that means something's off. And I started losing sleep a little bit. And I'm like, wait a second, I'm losing sleep before we've even signed on this deal. And I was like, that's not a good sign. And so I had to do some math on my own, and then I brought it to Sarah, and I had to bring it to everybody essentially, like, I am gonna bail on the deal because I'm not comfortable extending myself in this way for this land that, has one tiny cabin and a dream of ours to build more, but really no plan. And so that's where I shared with everybody that, and I do want to put a little note in here. We had already put $10,000 each
on
of
the
us.
line,
Non-refundable deposit. And I was willing to let that go. So you really know that I was convicted in my decision to, and trust me, it was like, Sarah's my business partner. They were, all getting ready to become my business partners. I'm friends with these people, but at the end of the day, I had to, think about what was best for myself. And I came to them and just said, I don't know why we need 175 acres. I'd done a lot of market research too. And a lot of our competitors had a smaller amount of land, but there are some just like invaluables and tangibles on this land. Like Mike had brought to my attention, we already have the plumbing, we already have the septic, we already have the roads. So even if we bought a smaller piece of land, we would end up paying more because we'd have to develop it. So I was sold on that part, but I still just wasn't sold on the total amount. So I came to everybody, and I was not fun, but I basically said, hey, at this amount of acres, I can't participate anymore. And we kind of
fizzled out. It was right before the holidays.
It was right before the holidays. We asked them. We asked the person that was selling the land, because there are actually 5 parcels. We asked them, like, hey, like, can you sell us 4 parcels? Can you sell us 3 parcels? He was not budging. He was like, it is all or nothing. And so it didn't completely fizzle out. It was just like the deal wasn't getting
Well, all of a sudden after the holidays, the seller then, as they always do, comes back and is like, actually, I found this buyer who wants this section of a land, spoiler alert, a parcel. And so then these other 4 parcels, if you guys are still interested, I think it could still work for you. And it felt like a mad dash. I was like, Netta, you back in, like it's much less property, much less on the holding costs. Our other partner, so I was gonna say, like, Mike and Ingrid were very much about having as much land as possible, because they're further along in their real estate journey that Annette and I are, to be quite honest with you. So what I mean by that is they have more funds to put on the line. Not that we don't believe in this area of our state and like about the drivable destination, the fact that this land is going to appreciate. You still have to, again, like, think about where you're going to be a year, 2 years from now. You don't want to over leverage yourself, okay? Mm-hmm. You just don't want to do it. There's a lot of bad advice out there doing it. But anyway, we didn't have to. It all worked itself out. We closed in February 29th. So right after the holidays, it came back. The seller brought it to our attention. Mike's like, hey, I'm down if you guys are. Let's get the band back together. And spoiler alert, we closed on February 29th, 2004. And we hit the ground running.
2004?
2024.
I was like, girl, 20 years, let's sell it.
And
let's
hit the ground
let's cash
running.
in and make that money.
All right, this might also relate to you. It's not like we've stopped our day jobs and now we can fully focus on this land. Although some people might think we're crazy that we haven't done that, right? But Mike and Ingrid run and operate their own 14 short-term rentals in downtown Columbus. Plus, they have bought all these other plots that they need to build.
4 kids.
And 4 boys, right? So they already have this empire that they are running and adding to. Nick, like I said, has his architecture business. Annette and I, we do things for visiting full time. This is what we're doing. Plus, we manage other properties, including our own. So we all have these other things that are still going on. They're all adjacent to what this land, so it's all very appropriate. But so we knew out the bat that it would be important for us to have regular meetings. And at first we started out with 1 meeting a week, same time every week. And then we very quickly upped it to 2 meetings a week, where we just know we have at least 2 hours a week where we're coming together as a group and discussing financials, progress. That does not mean that we're not working in between those meetings, but we're delegating responsibilities. We're delegating different things that need to get done to progress us for the next day, right? And so it inches us towards our goal. But those meetings have been essential to moving it forward so we can all stop what else we're doing in our lives and come together as a team.
And those roles, that's what we bring to those meetings also. So we want everybody that listening to this to know, I'm sure you're either wanting to work on a real estate project on the side or a vacation rental, and this is what you have to do. We know that you need to keep your, whether it's your W-2 or your other businesses rolling, moving forward, but carving out that time, dedicating the meeting, and then also the financial resources. That's what we've been doing right out of the gate to make sure that we stay on top of everything.
And we have no money coming in. But we have plenty going out, and so it has been essential that we get organized from the beginning. So you better believe we already have our CPA lined up, and they have all the information from our final settlement statement from the purchase. We got our books set up. We're using QuickBooks, and we have a bookkeeper who has made sure that she has in there categorized all of our owner contributions, and we're starting to categorize all the things that it's taking to maintain the land right now. We have to mow it. We have to exterminate, right? The cost of renovating the cabin. Our books are already humming, even though everything's going out other than our contributions. We have our business banking account that we all have access to. We're using Relay. If you haven't heard of Relay Business Banking, you should check the link in our show notes, because we love this online business banking. It's great for all of us owners to have access to. And then paying our contractors, it's next day, it's free, it's super easy. We truly, truly love it. But I just can't stress enough how good Annette and I feel knowing that financially we are organized and on top of it. So when we add complexity, when we add the business revenue that's going to be coming in, we're going to be able to take that baby step to getting those things organized. We don't have to do all that back work, because it's already done, it's already humming along.
So there's so many things for us to be excited about this land because it really is like this blank canvas. So we're getting a little bit of trouble because we're like throwing ideas all over the place. So we're trying to reel those in. We're super excited about really researching what our next development will be on this land. Like what type of structure are we going to put next? We have some things in the works there, so we'll share those on an upcoming video, but really looking into what's cutting edge, what are people looking for in stays these days, looking to build out the already amazing property. We have some really great ideas on what to do with all of this land and bring it to our guests. And that's where that's so much of the excitement for anybody working on vacation rental, short-term rental, land development is all of the like, what could we build here? Like the, field of dreams, if you build it, they will come. So it's like, we have that, like, I'm so excited about that, but we also have to reel it in. So it's like, are we gonna put yurts? Are we gonna put tents? Are we gonna put single family homes? Are we gonna put 3-bedroom home? Are we gonna build a giant house? There's so many things, but we are starting with the guest experience and numbers and not just what would we want.
Here's what I'm nervous about though, okay? So I'm a nervous Nelly. I worry about what can go, not even go wrong, but for me, the competition couldn't be more fierce in that area. I mean, we have incredible brands that are just down the road from us. And so who are we to come in there and try to take a slice of the marketplace and perform well, right? That's what I'm saying to myself. So every decision we make, I'm like, but is that going to be enough to get that guest to decide to stay with us versus these other incredible experiences that are just down the road? So that's one thing I'm nervous about. We still have to hone in like who our ideal traveler is. When you are the solution for everyone, you're a solution for no one. So we have how many different owners on this, and we all have different ideas because we come from different realities, right? Mike and Ingrid have a very large family. And Nick and I are a married couple and we don't have children. Annette right now, again, if you have a partner for Annette,
really going hard with this one.
like go ahead and slide in our comments below. Annette lives on her own, has a different reality, right? And so we all have different ideas of who we want to serve and how we want to serve them. So really getting focused on how we're going to talk to our traveler and in what words are we going to use, what's going to excite them. We have to get focused on that, and we haven't been able to do that yet. So we will work through it. Being excited and being nervous they're all good things. They're all part of the process.
When we're building this brand, this land, we know how important it is to share your story publicly and ahead of time. And so we've started doing that. And that's kind of like, that's been a hard thing to do because we like to do things and show them after they're completed. So if you want to follow along, we are swinging hammers. We're bringing you to meetings, talking to our partners. If you want to follow at Rich Hollow Retreat on Instagram, give us a follow. We're going to be creating content there and can't wait for you to come stay with us.
If you want to really dig in on some more content here, how we're going to make this land a reality, and if you've got the same concerns we do, one of mine is where this land is. There's not a lot of people that live there, let alone people who are great cleaners. So instead of having a talent pond, we have like a talent puddle. It's like there's not a lot of people there. So it's more important than ever that I take my own advice that we gave in the video, how to find and hire the perfect cleaner. Go check it out.
Our rehab of our cabin, we're already focusing on the design because we know that is of the utmost importance to the guest, and we know that you don't want your Airbnb to be ugly, so check out this video.
I am not just saying this. We have so much going on with, obviously, thanks for visiting and all the different land things that's happening, plus our own properties they're still operating. Like, as we get this cabin up and running, and plus the other two structures that we're very close on getting up and running, I, more than ever, rely on this checklist that we put together over the years. It is our essentials short-term rental checklist, and not only do we use it, but you can use it too. So go ahead in the show notes, download it. It is free, and we've been adding to it for years. See if you already have your furnished rental furnished. See what you don't have yet. If you're getting set up, you do not want to be without this list.
We're so glad you're here, but keep watching these videos. Hit that subscribe button, and with that,
I am Sarah Karakayan.
I'm Annette Grant, and together we are
Thanks for visiting.